I refuse to be silenced by my abuser. So this video is very important for me to make. So I decided to film this video to pretty much celebrate my Survivor Day. It's been a year, hopefully by the time you guys have seen this video, since my ex tried to kill me. And I wanna, you know, do my makeup, do my hair, get changed, make myself feel cute to celebrate, and I hope that you guys enjoy this video. I hope that it might reach out to the right people. Feel free to share it with your friends, with your family members who might be going through these things. If you don't want to, that is absolutely fine. But I just want to hopefully help someone along the lines with my story, and hope that I can offer some support, some advice, and to, you know, make someone feel less alone. Sit tight, because it's kind of been told in a very non-chronological, crazy way, only because my brain works that way, and I hope you guys don't get too lost during this. Feel free to just, you know, rewind if you do get a little bit confused with the timestamps and the things that have happened. I'll try to edit it, you know, as well as I possibly can, but I hope that this does reach out to the right people. Jesus Christ, this has taken a long time to even set up. So, I've been trying to film this video for a long time, but every time I try to film it, I get stressed out, I start to dissociate, and I just kind of had the idea about 20 minutes ago of filming this video whilst doing my makeup, whilst I tell you guys this very juicy story about how I almost got murdered by my ex. And yeah, if I'm not looking at you guys, it's because I'm trying to do this makeup. Oh yeah, trigger warning. A lot of suicidal ideation, mentions of eating disorder, mentions of adult activities. That includes drug abuse, that includes sex, that includes a lot of adult-themed conversations that I'll be having in this. This world is full of a lot of cruel people, and I would rather warn you guys and you never have to experience it for yourselves than to not warn you and know that I could have saved someone from making the same choices that I made, and, you know, getting to this point. Now, don't think for a second that just because I made certain choices, I am to blame for the actions of this abusive son of a bitch. I spent a lot of time blaming myself. I am not to blame for his actions. He did what he did. End of discussion. For those of you who don't know what a narcissist is, I'll give you a very brief explanation, but I do suggest you go and have a look at Dr. Ramani's videos on YouTube. She has 2 books that I am very grateful for. One is called Should I Stay or Should I Go? The other one is Don't You Know Who I Am? I am currently reading Should I Stay or Should I Go? It tells you a lot about narcissists. A narcissist is someone who is very manipulative, someone who is very selfish, someone who can convince everyone around them that they are a wonderful person. This is a very stressful story to tell, so I'm sorry if I'm a bit all over the place. There'll be a lot more that you guys will learn about narcissists in this video as I go along, and you'll hopefully be able to tell some of the things, you know, some of the signs, some of the red flags, and I hope that this will be educational for you. Now, let's start from the beginning. I dated someone who I went to school with. We ended up actually breaking up, and you know what? Like, that was for the best. We worked pretty well as friends, but we did not work well in a romantic situation. Now, don't get me wrong, I am someone who is not perfect. I have a lot of mental disorders. Let me list a few of them. So we've got borderline personality disorder, severe anxiety, severe depression. We've got an eating disorder, you know. We're playing like mental illness bingo right now. We've got PTSD, and you guys are going to learn a lot about my PTSD in a second. Just a lot of issues. The reason that I'm mentioning this to you is because this plays a huge part into why I was so vulnerable for a narcissist to come along. When you've got body dysmorphia, when you've got an unstable image of who you are, you know, an unstable sense of who you are in general, not just physically, but mentally, and you just don't know who you are. You don't know what your interests and likes and dislikes are because they change 24/7. You're going to be a bit more susceptible to narcissists because They love making you question who the fuck you are. But after we broke up, a week or so goes by, I'm working in an office and there were inductions at this job. Anyway, we sold products and we had a factory that actually made the products. So we had inductions going to the factory as office workers so we could really appreciate all the hard work that went into making the products. And then the people at the factory could really appreciate the customer service that went into selling these products to people and all the steps that were taken within this job. During this induction, I met my abuser. So, you know, worked in the office, got introduced to him. I thought his smile was amazing. And I basically turned around to him when he came to my office for the induction. And I said to him, oh my God, you know, just trying to flirt, like, sat at this computer, like, oh my God, I can't find you in the system. Like, what's your surname? You know, like, hint, hint, I want to find you on Facebook. And he was like, oh, it's this. So I searched it up, and again, he was not on the system, and I just joked about him being a ghost. Later on that day, bearing in mind, we had these like signs on our table that had our names, but it was only the first name and it was made out of wood, and the company just did that as a nice thing for all the employees. And you know, I had my name plate thing, and he saw that. My name is spelled with a K, not a C, so he was able to very quickly find me on Facebook and message me that day once he left the office, you know, after his induction. I thought that that was the cutest thing ever, and you know, funnily enough, when I checked Facebook, it was because I was about to go and try and search him up, and I did find his account, and I got too shy to message him. So when I found out that he'd messaged me, I got really excited, because I was like, oh, okay, cool, like, I'm not some weirdo. And by the way, with my BPD, I relive moments as they're going along, so if I'm smiling, if I'm happy, if I seem like I'm in love, it's because I am able to relive those moments and the exact emotions I felt in those moments. We go back and forth messaging each other on Facebook, and he is, you know, trying to hint at wanting to go on a date, and I immediately just say to him, do you want to get coffee? I don't know what got into me. I'm usually shy as hell when it comes to all of that kind of stuff. For some reason, I felt confident with this guy. And, you know, we went on our date, and I paid because I don't think it's fair that guys always have to pay for dates. I think if I'm the one who's asked you on a date, I'm paying. We are all about that equality, honey. So we go on this date, and the entire time the guy is asking me all these really personal questions. And because I'm such an open book anyway, I literally share my entire life on the internet and have done since I was 11, so I don't think anyone can dispute that. You know, since I'm such an open book anyway, I told him everything. You know, I'm disabled, I have BPD, I've got this and that, I've had traumas, these are things my exes have done to upset me, these are things my exes have done to traumatize me, these are really awful situations I've been in. And I noticed that when I would ask him questions about himself, he would go into the briefest detail, but not very much. I thought it was just him caring and wanting to be a good listener, but in reality he was listening in for every single little detail he could think of to try and figure out my triggers, try and figure out what I liked, and so it would be a lot easier for him to love bomb me. For those of you who don't know, love bombing is when a narcissist will basically just make you feel so loved and cherished right in the beginning, make you feel like you're the most important person in the entire world, and so you fall for them very quickly. It's like a love you've never felt before. It's like Prince Charming has just come into your life, you know. Next thing you know, we're kissing, and I'm not someone who usually kisses on first dates either. So it just felt natural, it just felt real, it felt amazing, I felt really appreciated, I felt like I had found my Prince Charming. We didn't really want to leave each other that day. We got very attached to each other very, very quickly, and that is the whole process of the love bomb. I was having issues with my family. He was there to support me through them. I thought that, you know, this is basically just someone who pretty much was me, just cloned in a different body. Little did I know that he was actually using a very common narcissist strategy of mirroring someone else and mirroring someone else's behaviors. And the reason that they do this is so that you feel like you found someone who really understands you, when in reality, they don't know shit. He turned around to me within literally a day of us being on that date, saying that we were officially in a relationship. Bearing in mind I had just come out of a relationship, I was vulnerable as a borderline. He knew that, so boom, we're in a relationship. And I was like, okay. So yeah, we were dating. We were in a relationship. This is my new boyfriend. And I didn't tell my dad for a few days. But then obviously my dad found out. Now when we first started dating, this guy told me he was 26 years old. I then came to find out when I was signing up for college that he was actually 27. But before we even get to the college period, we were still working at this office together, right? And as I'm disabled, like I've mentioned before, I get physically ill sometimes. And I started to get really ill real quick. So I reached out to my work and I said to them, listen, at the moment I can't come in because I'm physically unwell, and I even went to the GP, got a letter to explain that I wasn't doing good. This guy was like, okay, you know, you're not going to work, that's fine, like let me take care of you. And I said, no, we work for the same company, of course, like they know that we're seeing each other, they're obviously going to clock on that you're just wanting to spend time with me. He's like, no, it's fine. And basically just point blank stops going into work. And next thing you know, we've both lost our jobs. I told him to go to work. He chose to come over here, take care of me 24/7 instead. His choice, not mine. I had nothing to do with that. So the work situation kind of falls through. He's not working, and we both decide, you know what, like, let's go to college. I had already decided I wanted to go to college when I was in the relationship before him, and I just wanted to work and do college at the same time. So that was, you know, a solid decision that had already been made. The guy I dated before him actually ended up going to college with me, and we weren't even expecting to see each other in that college. And next thing I know, we're supposed to be in the same class on the same course, and I was like, oh god, I need to study with my ex. So my current boyfriend then decides, hey, why don't I join the course as well? Because I want to educate myself. Little did I know that that was a strategy to get close to all the people I was close with and manipulate them and isolate me from them right from the beginning. I'm doing this class with my current boyfriend and my ex, and they keep kind of staring each other out. You know, my ex is starting to get a bit uncomfortable. I can tell because I'll occasionally look over like, oh, this is so weird. Like, my abuser would not have, you know, joined the course really had it not been for these situations. He eventually admitted himself that he only wanted to join the course so that he could keep an eye on my ex because he felt a bit jealous. I don't know why in the beginning I thought it was so cute that he felt jealous over me, but honey, that's a red flag. Like, jealousy is not a good thing, and to be honest, I'm someone who's a little bit jealous and protective, but if you're with someone who's healthy, you don't even feel that. Like, I'm generally like, this is my best friend, but at the same time, if my best friend wants to be friends with other people, I'm like, yeah, new friends, woo! So there's a difference there between that and trying to control someone because you are a little bit jealous. As the story progresses, I started to get progressively frustrated with people on my course because I cannot handle loud noise, which is funny because I'm a loud ass bitch. But I can't handle loads of noise at once, like I get sensory overload from it, and I just need complete silence if I'm studying. People were not respecting that because they just wanted to chat away. So I started to get a little bit annoyed, especially when I had told this boyfriend that, hey, you know what, I get triggered by things like that, so please don't do it. And him being like, yeah, of course I won't, you know, I'll respect that, blah, blah, blah. The next thing you know, he's shouting out answers 24/7, and he is refusing to respect my boundary that I need to pay attention to the teacher. You don't need to be speaking over her 24/7. That was another red flag because he has no boundaries, and he thought that what he had to say was more important than what my teacher had to say. And one day we got into an argument after college, and he punched this metal bridge, and I was like, what the fuck? Bearing in mind, I have grandparents who have been in a very toxic, abusive relationship my entire life, and way before I was born. I'm not cool with that, and I said this to this dude. I said, if you ever do this kind of shit again near me, I am never speaking to you again. I will ghost on you, and that is it. Like, you will not hear from me again. And he was like, I'm so sorry. I'm not gonna do that again. Bearing in mind, the guy literally made his knuckles bleed. That's how hard he punched it. I knew by that point this is a big red flag, but I had kind of ignored all the other little red flags, so I thought, oh, it's just one red flag, everyone has their down days, whatever, like, everyone has moments. And that's a big reason that narcissists will often go for borderlines, because they know that we have our own moments where we fuck up and we hurt people, so we feel guilty for leaving other people when they fuck up and hurt people. It's this really awful cycle. But yeah, this guy and I continue dating, things start to progress, and he starts talking about wanting a baby with me real bad, and he refuses to ever wear protection with me because it just feels so much better when we don't. So we just never use protection. I don't recommend this. This is a very big way, a very big tool that narcissists will often use to try and baby trap you, force you to have a baby with them, and then you can't actually leave them ever, especially if you are the mother of the child, because the father will always find a way to kind of be present in the baby's life. Things keep progressing in that relationship. We start to get into arguments, and he starts to gaslight me, starts to blame me for all the arguments, even though they tend to be brought on by me saying, I'm not cool with you doing this, this, and this, and him being like, oh yeah, but I don't do that, you're the one who does it, and me be like, wait, you just screamed at me. No, I didn't. Things like that, that's gaslighting. Me trying to say that I'm not comfortable with something. You should respect your partner's boundaries. You should not make someone feel shitty for explaining to you that they're not comfortable with certain behaviors. When you're dating someone regardless, you're going to be growing as human beings, because we never stop growing emotionally, mentally, physically, in various ways. So when your partner's telling you that they're uncomfortable with a certain behavior, a healthy partner, healthy individual will be like, okay, cool, I'll stop. And change that behavior, because why would you want to upset your partner? It gets to around Christmas time. We ended up spending it with his mom. I later came to find out that the guy had a history of being violent towards women, especially women that he's supposed to generally have at least some sort of respect for. Christmas goes by and the new year comes along, and we decided to go to kind of a famous place in the UK for camping and things like that. We had a great time, and we have been joking daily since we started dating that we were going to get engaged. So we basically got engaged during that trip, and we even took photos for it. But bearing in mind I'd met him in August, and it was it was the new year, and all of a sudden we're engaged, that moved pretty quick. And I'm not gonna lie, I played a part in that engagement, obviously. I wanted to be engaged to this guy, I wanted to marry him, and I wanted his children. It was an experience, to say the least. Here's the thing that they don't tell you about narcissists, is they don't make it very obvious from the beginning that they're gonna abuse you. Otherwise, their manipulation strategies wouldn't work. Something that he did start doing, though, was gradually implanting little messages in my head that my friends weren't trustworthy. And this actually started right at the beginning when I mentioned, that we went to college together. He was already doing that with people in my college course. He continued to do this, like, this friend is an enabler, this friend is not good for you, this friend, blah, blah, blah. And giving me unwarranted advice all the time as well, telling me what I should do, when I should do it, why I should do it, and how he's right. And he loved to play the age card. He even lied to his mum, actually. Just, side note, he lied to his mum about my age, told her that I was already 20 when I had only just turned 19, so that it seemed like there was a smaller age gap, so that we could date, really, and she wouldn't say much about it. But I was still a teenager, and this guy was a 27-year-old man. I was still 19, and you know what, at that point I didn't think it was that big a deal, because you feel so grown up when you're over 18. He would make a comment every time that I had any of my symptoms of BPD, like regression or something, come out. He would tell me that he's so much more mature, and he's so much older, and has so much more experience. So that was the beginning of us starting to bicker, but I didn't really think that that was worth breaking up over, because it wasn't that big a deal in my eyes at that time. At the same time, I did tell him I wasn't comfortable with him doing that. He was correct to a certain degree when it comes to your brain development, but at the same time, it's infuriating as hell when you're that age and someone makes comments like that, like, why would you want to date me if I'm so much more immature than you? If I'm such a child, why are you attracted to me? That is a big red flag. So angels, if you are watching this video and you've had red flags like these, please, please, please be cautious with those people and stay the hell away from them. It is never a good sign when someone keeps bringing up the age difference between you if they've chosen to date you. It just proves that they're trying to establish some sort of power play right there and then from the beginning. Especially because they start off with, you're so mature for your age, hee, and then, oh my god, I'm older than you, I'm more mature, blah, blah. I'm either mature or I'm not. You don't get to pick and choose just so that your abuse strategy works better. Anyways, he got to meet my friends, and my friends right from the beginning felt that something was off. I thought that they were just like, you know, being really protective over me, but they sensed something was wrong about this guy. I actually had friends telling me that they straight up thought he was a narcissist before he even showed any signs. Now, the guy would get really annoyed at me if I spent too much time with my friends, but it was absolutely fine for him to ghost on me for days at a time. A lot more just kept going on, and he is an alcoholic, and I'm not going to sit here and shame alcoholics and addicts. I am an addict myself, for those of you who don't know, and I think, you know, everyone deserves help no matter where you're at. However, this guy had been sober right from the beginning of our relationship, and he had claimed to be sober for the past 2 years up until this point. Out of nowhere, he decides to meet me at this park, and he had been drinking. He hadn't even spoken to me about it before. He just decided to drink, which, you know what? Typical addict behavior. Not gonna shame him for that. So he went back to drinking, and this is where the big turning point was. There'd already been a couple of red flags that I had pretty much ignored at this point. A big red flag was that he was chatting shit about his ex. But the problem is, he said that he had one crazy ex, and then he had his baby mom who he treated badly. So it didn't seem like the typical, oh, my exes are crazy, you know, that kind of story. It wasn't that kind of energy. So I thought, okay, well, he's not like the other dudes who just blame all their exes for everything because one of his exes is actually a decent ex. He basically was just talking badly about this one ex for the entirety of the relationship, you know, leading up to this point and way past this point too, and basically making her out, painting this picture throughout our relationship, making her out to be this crazy, crazy woman who was just obsessed with him for no reason, who just wanted to ruin his life and to get in between our love story. This woman and I ended up not really wanting to be friends. We didn't want to deal with each other. We ended up sending a lot of hate to each other actually online because he convinced me that she was obsessed with him. The thing is, the only reason that I even ended up being in contact with this woman was because she had reached out to me shortly after he started to drink and said, listen, he tried to make a move on me, and I, you know, wasn't really sure what was going on because I thought you guys were together and I just didn't trust him. And she tries to warn me basically like, girl, this guy's dangerous, he's a narcissist, get out while you still can. And my little then 20-year-old dumbass was like, you're just jealous because you don't have him anymore and you're his ex, so can you just fuck off? That kind of reaction. Honestly, listen to the woman, okay? Take this. This is what I mean by choices that I made, okay? I had the choice of listening to her or not. I kind of half listened to her, and her and I have actually spoken about it since, and I paid attention to the fact she'd called him a narcissist, and I started to do my research behind the scenes at this point. The thing is, I knew by that point that if you tell a narcissist, you know that they're a narcissist, that's when you're in danger, so I had to play along and basically be a bitch to her online and not let any of my friends know what was going on in that regard, because I know that narcissists often use people as their flying monkeys, which is anyone that you're close to, the narcissist will be like, oh yeah, by the way, they said this about you. Oh yeah, by the way, they said that about you, and kind of beat you against each other, get you to send messages indirectly through each other, because they know how people work, they know how to manipulate people. And narcissists will not only manipulate the main victim, they will manipulate everyone around the victim, so you really feel isolated, including from your family. This woman and I were at war with each other, and it was horrific. And next thing I know, I had found out that he had cheated on me with her, and my initial reaction and response was to say to him, you owe her an apology. Like, I do not care, you owe her an apology. You don't have the right to reach out to her after all this time you've been apart, try to make a move on her, and then not apologize and try to just move on from it like nothing happened. Also, the guy wanted me to just forgive and forget everything that had happened in the space of about 2 weeks. He just wanted me to trust him immediately and not really take accountability for having cheated on me with her. He was going to apologize. And then I can't remember why, but he didn't. Not long after that, I find out he has also made a move on this woman he was working with. So now it's 2 women who he has cheated on me with. He was sexting them just after coming inside me. This is very graphic, right? But he was doing this straight after funky time. And I caught him. And so one day, you know, this girl that he worked with told me, hey, by the way, he's made moves on me. And I was on the defense at this point. It just felt like this is too much of a coincidence. Why would he cheat on me with 2 different women, you know? Clearly these women are just after him and they just want to sabotage my relationship. So I got mad at the woman again. But at the same time, I kind of half believed them, so I go to get my things from his, and him and I get into a massive argument. He doesn't let me leave, and he starts to get physical. This is a big trigger warning because from this moment on it gets very graphic, and I don't want to trigger anyone who is currently going through these situations. However, I still feel like it's a very important message to send to those of you who are able to listen and pay attention, and I hope you're able to find a way out. Started to get physical. Now, let me just say this, it wasn't that he started to just get physical on this day. Before this, he had already started lying to me, so that's another red flag, and right from the beginning he'd tell little white lies to try and test how easy I was to manipulate, how easy it was to get away with lies with me, and he'd actually get annoyed at me and shocked that I'm someone who's very intuitive and someone who can pick up on lies very easily, and for some reason he thought in his crazy little mind that I wasn't going to catch on to his abuse. Another thing that he did as well, by the way, was he would call me names during arguments and then say that I didn't have the right to be upset at him calling me names. Let's just not deal with people who call us names, okay? Let's agree on doing that. But yeah, the day that I found out about the second woman, I went to his house to go and get my things and basically break up with him. He'd tried lying to me and saying that she was making it up, but obviously at this point, you know, even though I was horrible to her, I was very much aware of the kind of person that this man was, and I was just tired of dealing with his shenanigans, and I was completely exhausted by this guy. So I go over there to try and call him out on his shit, and he was begging me to stay with him and begging me to hear him out and all of that shiznit. And my friend was waiting for me outside during this time, and he started begging me not to leave, and he started to get physical. He pushed me up against the wall at one point, he strangled me, he threw me onto the bed. It got to the point that I literally slapped him across the face because he wasn't getting out of my face, and I had told him several times, if you don't get out of my face, I will slap you. And he was like, go on then, and continued to antagonize me. So eventually I did just that. He saw red, started getting very violent. He left bruises on my arms from holding and grabbing me, and he was even smashing his head against the wall to try to make me and my caregiving kind of nature take over, so that I was worried about his well-being more than I was worried about my own, because he knew that I was that kind of partner. Things just continued to escalate, and I finally managed to get out. God knows how I managed to get out, because the guy did not want me to leave the flat that day. And my friend ended up seeing me after this fight broke out, and I think I ended up going home and going back to his or something. I can't remember exactly what went down, but I somewhat forgave him, but I was very much on alert, and he got mad at me every time that I would say that I don't completely trust him, because, you know, at the end of the day he cheated on me with 2 women who he knew I was already insecure about at that point, because, you know, when he was constantly talking about how great they were and then negatively comparing me to them, that's the kind of reaction you're gonna get. And so things continue to get real bad. And so I told him, you know what, you're gonna go back to those meetings, you're gonna go back into recovery, you're gonna stop drinking, and we're gonna work on this relationship. By this point, I'd already lost a lot of friends due to this guy, because, like I mentioned earlier, he had isolated me from a lot of my friends, and I really felt alone. My sister actually witnessed him getting physical with me at one point in my house, and kind of stood between us whilst he decided to throw a photo frame at my head that had pictures of us on it, and claimed that I was the abusive one whilst he did this. And it even got to the point where we got into a fight one day, and this was the day before he tried to kill me, where he actually tried to kill me. He tried to kill me the day before he tried to kill me. Make it make sense. So yeah, we got into an argument because I wanted some chicken nuggets, and I had contacted Uber Eats, and he knows one of my triggers is, you know, sound, obviously. So he basically just took advantage of the fact that I had all these triggers. That day he made a comment again about how I was so much like his ex, but in a very negative way. And I lost my shit, and I said to him, you know what, like, maybe you should just go drink if you're gonna continue being this kind of person. It's obviously not making a difference if you're drinking or not, because you're just being abusive. And, you know, I'll take full responsibility. That's not something you should ever really say to an addict. It's very not okay. Not to excuse my behaviors, but when you are being abused, you end up developing those negative qualities that they have, especially when they're constantly telling you that you are them and they are you. Next thing I know, he's strangling me on my bed, and he would not let go for the life of me. He refused to let go, and he just kept going and did not care for the consequences of his actions. My instincts kick in, and I start to kick him. And I managed to kick him in the face a couple times, / knee him in the face. It all happened really, really quickly. And next thing I know, his nose is bleeding, and he's screaming at me, saying that I, once again, am the abusive one. And denied for over an hour that he had even attacked me in the first place, and that I was defending myself, until he finally was like, oh shit, no, I did do that. My friend needed me that day, so he actually ended up going back to his house. This was on the 2nd of January. He ended up going back to his house and said, I'll see you tomorrow. It gets to 1:30 in the morning. My friend was actually back at her house at this point. She had a couple of things to sort out before coming back to mine. He shows up drunk as hell and keeps saying that he's not drunk, even though his words are slurring, even though he's swaying, and even though he literally smells like alcohol. So I started to kind of doubt myself by this point. I'm starting to think maybe I'm paranoid, because he relapsed not too long ago. And he did not want to admit to what he did. And that argument kind of escalated, because he asked me for a cigarette, and I remembered earlier that day that he had already asked me for a cigarette. And I had given him so much tobacco, and I was running out. I did not have much left at all. And as a recovering addict myself at that point, where I was trying to stay away from drugs, cigarettes are the only things that were kind of stopping me from relapsing, because my drug of choice was marijuana. And so yeah, I said to him, nope, you can't have it. The argument escalated, and I called him entitled. Because he was entitled. Every time I would get my own marijuana, any time that I would get anything, if I had money, whatever it was, he'd always make me give him half, no matter what it was. And make me feel really, really bad, and, you know, guilt trip me if I said no to him. So he got very, very angry very quickly when I called him entitled for this. And next thing I know, he is punching me in the head. He's throwing me onto my sister's boyfriend's car. He's strangling me. He's hitting my head against the wall. He's throwing me on the ground. He's slapping me across the face. He was punching me in the jaw kind of thing as well. So I ended up not being able to eat for days. For about 5 days I couldn't eat properly because it would hurt. But yeah, during this time when he's doing all these things, he's also shouting abuse at me and saying that I don't deserve to live. None of my friends even really care about me. I'm to blame for the things that he's doing to me, and those kinds of things do stick with you as an abuse victim. They really do, especially as someone who's constantly questioning themselves anyway. To have the person that's supposed to love you and supposed to care for you, you know, someone who you've been with for over a year at this point, saying all these things to you, it's not acceptable, and it's not okay. So yeah. I basically ended up saying to him, you know what, I'm calling the police. And he told me, okay, cool, call the police then. So I grabbed my phone and I start dialing 999, and he knocks my phone out of my hand and, you know, continues to kick me and stuff. And I managed to get my phone off the ground, and I called my dad, who was upstairs. Again, my camera died because it keeps getting too hot. But yeah, this is me saying it out of concern for the other women, not because, you know, I want to be horrible or anything. I'm concerned about his future partners, because at the end of the day, the guy's a master manipulator. And I'm concerned about all of you guys. You know, I'm hoping that, you know, male, female, non-binary, gender fluid, you can take something from this story and learn to protect yourselves. Now, if you have MPD or you are narcissistic, generally speaking, I really do hope that you learn to get help and seek it, because regardless of which disorder you have, and even if you don't have a mental disorder, you know, it's not shameful to get help and to ask for help. It's not easy sometimes to ask for help, but everyone deserves help. The problem that I have with this guy is that he refused to get it, and he would lie about being in therapy when he wasn't, because at the end of the day, he didn't want to change. But I think that everyone has the power to change if you choose to do so. Yeah, ran out of space on my camera again. But yeah, basically my dad answers the phone, and I hang up because then he'd know something was up, kind of thing. So my dad comes downstairs, sees the state the guy's in, and tries to basically get him to leave us. By this point, I had bruises already, and I was telling the guy, like, listen, get the hell out of my face, and give me the key to my house back, because he was practically living half here and half at his own place. And, you know, after a lot of arguing, he finally left and went to the supermarket and stole more alcohol. And, you know, once he had gone, he basically... Oh, bearing in mind, by the time this all kicked off, my friend was already at my house. By the time he got violent and stuff. So she was witnessing all of this, you know, like hearing it all as this was progressing. And, you know, he managed to go home or whatever. But he had stolen from us by this point. He'd stolen some more alcohol from us, which does happen a lot with addicts. That is the least of my concerns. But at the same time, this guy stole over 200 pounds of our alcohol. And he also stole my money. And he also stole money from my dad's pockets. Which, you know, is very disrespectful. I am not someone who steals, even in active addiction. And especially, you know, from my dad. Like, considering whenever I'd ask my dad for things, he'd just give it to me anyway. Like, why would I need to steal? So yeah, that was something that just kind of really fucked with me, because once he left, we realized, like, oh god, he's stolen from us again. Bearing in mind my family had forgiven him a lot of times for this. And yeah, the next day he's trying to hoover me back in, which for those of you who don't know is just a narcissist way of trying to reel you back in after treating you like crap, basically like a hoover, you know, suck you back in. And, you know, making all these false promises about how he was going to change, which he'd done so many times during that relationship. It's insane. And yeah, basically was just messaging me non-stop, and I was refusing to reply. It got to the 5th of January, so 2 days later, and he was basically saying that he was suicidal. So I called the police to do a welfare check on him. The police go over there, he acts like he's fine, tells them to go away, so they do. And then the day progresses, he goes out, gets into a big fight, and the police once again saw him. And then his sister and I got concerned when he was saying that his head was bleeding out. So her and I go over to his to check on him, and we call an ambulance and the police for our own safety, really, and to try and, you know, get him sectioned, get him help, because at this point I didn't want him arrested, I didn't want him to spend time in a jail cell, I just wanted him clean and sober, and I still loved him. You know, bearing in mind this is only 2 days after he tried to kill me, my mind's still going to be very confused, and we were engaged. We wanted kids together and everything. So yeah, the police get there, he's acting violent, he doesn't even recognize his own sister, or at least he tells her he doesn't. And, you know, I had used the key that he had given me to his house to go in there to make sure he was alive. And then he tried to accuse me of breaking in, entering into his house, even though he gave me the key. But yeah, the police go there. They end up arresting him because I told them the story, and it got to 5 AM before I actually managed to leave and get back home. So I could finally rest from all of this. Now the story doesn't even end there, because he actually tried to hoover me back in several times after this, and he was successful for a little while. I'm not going to lie to you guys, this is a very complex situation. When people who are victims of domestic violence try to leave those relationships, they end up really struggling, and most of the time it takes us at least 7 different tries, because these guys, at the end of the day, or women, you know, they do not tend to be very good with taking no for an answer, and they tend to be master manipulators, which is why we stay for as long as we do, for those of you wondering why I stayed as long as I did. So it took a long time, and I finally managed to, you know, get out, but at the same time he did hoover me back in, and the police were involved in this whole thing. He broke his bail to contact me, by the way, because he was put on bail as soon as they arrested him and told he was not allowed to contact me directly or indirectly. His cousin was trying to blame me for his abuse, calling me a liar and all of that, so that was really difficult. And these are very common things that may happen if you are in this kind of situation. They will, once again, you know, use the people around you as flying monkeys to try and get messages across to you, and they'll often be very smart about it, so it doesn't come across as if it's coming from them. They'll just get messages into other people's heads so that when they do see you, they want to say it themselves, which, you know, very much complicated the whole situation. But I'm very happy to say I now have a restraining order on him. He's not allowed to contact me until 2022, so got over a year to go, because he attacked me January this year. And yeah, he's not allowed to contact me. If he does, he will be in prison, and on top of that I get compensation. Now the issue is, he's still free roaming the streets. The justice system in the UK is awful. Bearing in mind this guy has a lot of previous convictions of having done these kinds of things to different women. I am shocked and disgusted that he is not behind bars, but at the end of the day he just has to make one wrong move, which I'm counting on, because he makes a lot of wrong moves in his life because he thinks he's so great so great at hiding what he does. You know, he has to make one wrong move and there we go, behind bars. And I am just waiting for that to happen. I'm just waiting for him to mess up. Just because I think everyone has the power to change, it does not mean that I think everyone's going to change. And unfortunately, abusers, very low likelihood, because they often don't admit that they've done anything wrong. Which is why I'll say to you, if you have been in a relationship like this, of any kind, do not stay just because you're hoping and praying that they will change. You know, if you've already asked them to stop being abusive towards you and they haven't stopped, that's it. They are not a decent person that you should be involved with romantically or as a friend, because at the end of the day, even if you try to be their friend, they will try to hoover you back in no matter what, and they will try to even, you know, move on potentially, and make you feel bad for leaving them. And guess what? They will act like they, you know, they are treating this new partner really, really well, so that you feel like you were the problem and it was all your fault. So I really do not recommend trying to stay with an abusive person or going back to them once you've managed to leave, because the longer you stay in that relationship, the more difficult it will be to leave. I am speaking from personal experience, as you guys can tell, and I do not want to see anyone else, you know, going through the same things as I have. If this video can save someone and help them leave that relationship, even one single person, I'm happy, because these kinds of videos are what kept me from staying in that relationship. Dr. Ramani's videos saved my life. Like, I cannot give that woman enough credit for what she did for me by creating the videos that she has based on narcissists and abusers, and, you know, doing all those psychology videos so you really truly understand the abuse strategies that they use. If you guys are interested in more videos, I can film them for you, but also I would recommend going on my playlist here on YouTube, because I've got a lot of videos explaining exactly which strategies these types of people will use against their victims, and they were not made by me, they were made by several different incredible psychologists over here. All I can do is share my story and share the little things that I've learned about these abusers, but these people are professionals at the end of the day, and I am not at that point, at least as of yet. So yeah, I hope this helped clear some things up for some of you guys. I'm sorry that it was all over the place. My brain does not work in chronological order, but hopefully, I hope and I pray that this reaches out to someone who really needs it. And yeah, subscribe and comment down below if you guys want to see more videos like this. And remember to turn on that notification bell, because YouTube's being very bad at telling people that the people that they're subscribed to are uploading, okay? So turn on that notification bell if you're interested in seeing my videos more often. If you're not, that is absolutely fine. I'm not here to force anyone onto my channel. And yeah, let me know if there's any content that you guys really would like to see in the future, whether that's to do with BPD, mental illnesses, you know, going into more depth about the red flags I've noticed, not only with him, but other narcissists that I have dated in the past. And yeah, just let me know. And also feel free to share any of your stories or any red flags that you guys have noticed in the comments, because you don't know who might be reading those comments and seeking help and seeking answers. If you are a victim of any kind of abuse, I'm going to include very important links in the description for you guys to make sure that you are able to access the help and support that you need. Just know that my social media links will be there as well if you want to reach out to me personally, ask any questions, ask for any support. I am more than happy to help. Obviously, I do struggle with my own PTSD and my own mental illnesses and things, but you know, as soon as I'm available, I will reply to that. You know, I will reply to those messages and I'll offer you as much support as possible. You are not alone. No matter how much they want to isolate you, you're not alone, okay? I love you. I may not even know you, but I love you and I want to see you thrive. I want to say that I feel a lot healthier and a lot happier being out of that relationship. So there is hope for all of you guys out there who have been through similar situations. You know, I'm someone who was very weak, and I felt very weak before this relationship even played out, and especially once I left. And then I realized, like, oh shit, I'm a bad bitch. Like, no, this is not happening anymore. I'm noticing all the red flags, I'm taking them in, and I am not allowing someone else to do this to me again. Now, here's the thing, I am not saying that I am completely free from the possibility of a narcissist who's even better than him at manipulation getting to me, but at least I can prevent a lot of them, you know, from trying to lure me in. But yeah, I love you guys so, so much. Thank you for staying with me for this long, and thank you for watching. Mwah. I'll see you soon. Bye.